Today on the Idiot's Guide, we're talking about the never-ending struggle to keep your house clean. And after a measly 87 years, a change of an iconic name. I'm your host, Adam Richardson, aka the Prophet Hacker, and I'm joined by the man in charge, Mr. Joe Haslam. Welcome to the Idiot's Guide. Hello, everyone. Hey, I think that I'm going to start this off by saying that I have an uncanny skill at home that, Joe, I don't know if this is something that you experience, but I can do dishes, like load a dishwasher. Now, granted, if it means that I have to hand wash everything, it probably adds about 15 seconds to the whole ordeal. However, if the sink is full of dishes, and it could be like the biggest, most arduous task you could imagine with stuff caked on. And my kids eat cereals, so there's always dried cereal stuck to a bowl. It's like, you know, this is hazardous stuff. You know, it could really, really, really wreck your day. And I have this skill of just clearing that in a matter of minutes. Like literally, probably, I could take 5 minutes and have it done. If I have a dishwasher, it's usually under 5, and a full sink full of dishes. So I don't know how I do it. I just do. And that my family knows that. That's the unfortunate part, is that my family, they know that. And so it's something that, you know, I guess I can brag about because my family does too. They're like, oh yeah, we always just leave our dishes in there because he's just going to destroy it here in a minute. But maybe that's a curse that I have as well, is that I'm really good at it. But what are you like, Joe? Today's topic, basically, like I said, we're talking about that never-ending struggle. It seems like those dishes just come back the next day. So no matter what I do, I always have that job. So it's, I guess, good job security, but also I don't want to be that reliable because that just guarantees good job security. How about you, Joe?
You know, dishes are probably the most likely chore that I would end up doing, but I am not a good housekeeper. I'm just gonna come out and own that. Part of it is because I'm a busy individual. Other parts of it is I just don't like cleaning. It's just one of those things. I don't know what it is. Growing up, it was every Saturday morning. We got up at 8 o'clock in the morning. My mom would put on the stereo, radio, a record, whatever it was, and we'd clean every Saturday morning until 11 o'clock. And that was Saturday mornings. That's just what you did. At 11 o'clock, once you were done cleaning the whole house, you could go out and play. And I don't know if that somehow traumatized me as an adult to be so anti-clean.
I can agree with you on that. Yeah, I had a routine, the same thing on Saturday. Saturday was cleanup, and honestly, we have that at our house. But it somehow it feels very, very different.
It does. And, you know, so the kitchen is kind of my territory because I'm the one that cooks in the home. But years and years ago, my wife and I made the deal that whoever cooks, the other person cleans. Now, as the years have gone on, that is less and less the deal. But, you know, it's just to take the time out and do that with all of the chores as an adult. It's the one that gets put to the back burner most of the time, you know. Yeah. Saturdays, do the grocery shopping. So I do the grocery shopping. I come in and work for a couple of hours. Yes, I work on Saturdays. And then I'm out mowing the lawn. I'm doing the outside chores during the afternoons. And then by the time I'm done with all that, coming inside, it's like, this is just... It's okay. I can live with this kind of a mess.
But I think that, you know, like what you're not giving yourself credit for some of the things that may not be specifically cleaning, like vacuuming or washing the blinds or whatever it is, like specifically inside the house, but you are contributing to the betterment of the house by, making sure that groceries are stocked, and, and also making sure your yard is presentable. So it's not just attacking the neighbor's dog or something like that, but so I would say that, when I use the word house cleaning, I want to use the bigger picture of your house is the bubble you function in. And the better that bubble looks, the more, we can be, more comfortable in. Now, maybe like I'm a social person, so I really like having people over, and it really depends. If it's like really close friends, I'm not going to care that much. But if it's like a group of people that occasionally stop by and this is the time they're going to do it, yeah, like I got to make sure some of my stuff looks decent, so, the rooms that I'm not going to allow any humans in are not presentable, but the main space is, this is nice. Like, I love it, put a candle on or something like that to cover up whatever. I don't know, like
I've got teenagers. It's the teenage foot stink.
Yeah.
Every
definitely.
Teenager. And just to mention this, okay, for any parents, any teenagers, anyone listening, it does not matter how much they wash their feet. They will have teenager foot stink. That teenager foot stink starts from the day they hit puberty until about 20 years old. And no matter what you do, so teenagers, just be aware you will always have it. Parents, be aware that your teens will always have it.
Yeah.
And, hygiene, all that, but it's never going away.
Yeah, I mean, I think that trying to get my boys that are, one is still a preteen, but behaves like a teen at this point. The other one is full on into teenage mode. Getting them to shower or bathe or just have decent hygiene as boys, I don't know. Like, they're like, why does this smell bad? I was like, well, can I ask you when your last shower was? My youngest, he goes, tomorrow night. And I'm like, you can't tell me like,
well, and you talk about boys, I've got all girls and it's no better with girls.
Oh, I know.
And it's almost worse because society today, tells girls that they don't have to shower every day. And there are some things to that. You don't necessarily need to shower every day if you haven't done anything. But they use that excuse to shower maybe once a week.
I have some science from Clyde the shoe shiner that I used to know years ago. And this is science. So you spell this kind of science. It's SIANTS, science. Okay. Because it's not, well, I don't know. It could be real. I don't know, but he seemed really, it sounded official. So I'll just say that it's official science. Now what he talked about, and I was a lifetime member with Clyde. It was downtown Denver, and I walked downtown and get my shoe shined from him. He'd have this little bench and just put your foot up on it, and boom, your shoes look amazing. Okay. And he'd always flirt with all the ladies as they're walking by. If they get on the phone, he's like, if you're calling me, I'm not home. Kind of just a fun guy. He was fantastic. He had this he always had this advice he'd give about how important even ladies' shoes to go to a shoe shiner and get polished and take care of them. If they're leather or something like that they're made of, the care for that is really, really important. But he talked about how women's shoes or ladies' shoes, female shoes, I don't know what, it's nowadays you don't know what it is, but the shoe style is basically in a female, they have more oils that release from their feet, and so from puberty on, they technically could have stinkier feet than males do. And I was like, well, I mean, when you think about how, if you ever see like an older female, like she's got like dry feet or they crack or something like that. And so typically like that's kind of the thing I think about is like taking care of feet and that kind of stuff. Like I don't not necessarily have to do nearly the maintenance that a female has to do on their feet. And so that Clyde science makes a little bit more sense to me. That there's some legitimacy to his claim that women could potentially have stinkier feet than males. So, but anyway, I digress because we were talking about cleaning our house. Now I'm talking about women's feet.
Well, it kind of all goes together because, just this last week we were having this issue at home about showering and things like that. And it all kind of goes together, kids cleaning their room, you cleaning your house, you showering every day, all these kinds of things that, when you think about it. So one of my daughters said, well, it doesn't matter because it's just going to get dirty again.
Yeah.
And so
when you're already there,
why clean?
Why move?
And so she has a lot of anxiety. One thing that she does for her anxiety is she'll take out a calculator and just start adding 1 to the previous number. And so she'll just, +1 and then hit equals constantly to see how high she can get. And so that helps her to
that's kind of cool.
Reduce the anxiety. And so I didn't get a chance to talk to her about this, but what I wanted to share with her, and I think what applies to this, is when you think about the dirt in your home, if you start at a level 2 of dirt, so just start with the number 2, so not that bad, but then the next day you add 1 level of dirt to that, because each day you're going to add just a little bit more. And so now you're at a level 3, and then you add 1 more the next day, and 1 more the next day, and 1 more the next day. It doesn't seem like much because you're still dirty, but you've added, now you're up to 5, 6, 7 on that quote unquote dirt scale.
Yeah.
And so it's not just that it's dirty and it's always going to be dirty. It's that level of dirt.
It's perpetual dirt.
Exactly. It's, you have to mitigate the increase. And so when I say I'm not a very good housekeeper, we keep it tidy. On Saturday mornings, right before I go and get the groceries, I clean off the counter, I clean off the stove, clean off the table so that I have place to put all the groceries. And so that helps organize everything. We clean things up as we go through the week, throw the boxes away, put things away, move things around. So, and that's the idea, is that we may not be at a 0 level of dirt in our home. We're, like I said, we're not great, but maintaining at, say, that level 2 of, it's not perfect, but it's good. And every day you're just keeping it down and you're mitigating that increase every day. And that's, with the showering, with the, all the other things. I think a lot of people get too caught up on it has to be perfect, that your house just has to be spotless clean all the time. And that's where you get this defeatist attitude of, I'm never going to get it perfectly clean. And so what's the point?
Do you think that your daughter's going to have a panic attack or an anxiety attack when you explain to her that perpetual 1 that she's already using to kind of subdue the panic? And now you're going to be like, well, each day you're adding 1. So technically you're just reminding yourself of the job ahead. I don't know. Like I talk to my boys, and my boys, they have some specific tasks that they take care of. And, for a minute they do a good job. And then the rest of the summer, they're terrible at it. And so, right now, like what I like to tell them is, hey, if you do a good job once and keep it there, then you're good, right? It's easy to do, a little bit of care each day instead of a lot one day. And so, like I try to tell them, I was like, look, once we're done cleaning, keeping it that way doesn't take that much time, but getting it then the counter argument is that my 6-year-old daughter, she is really good at making messes. But then when the messes exist, I was like, well, you got it here. She's like, but it's too much. I don't know how to clean it up. I was like, you got everything out. It just goes everything back, but it's this mountain that she's created, and so it becomes this ever long battle to try to get her to clean up. The other day though, like something switched. It's been like 2 weeks of her trying to get her to clean her room. Like every day we're like, just one little task, just one little thing, like pick up this, pick up that, go put these in a nice organized way. And then poof, her room is like done, clean. And I was like, what happened? Wait a sec. Like, did you get help? Like I'm asking her brothers, like, did you guys step in and aid in this success here? And they're like, no. I was like, I am very impressed. Like, her room looks great. Usually that takes mom and dad's intervention with a trash bag or 4. And then we can see a clean room like that. So I was super happy to see it. And, at this point, I just encourage, like, if I see a mess or something like that, at this point, it's small enough to where she could tackle that and we're good. So,
Yeah, and I think that's another issue that comes up. So talking about, my daughter's anxiety and things like that. And, I'm a foster parent. And so the daughters that I have are foster adopted. And they've got a lot of these anxieties. They've got a lot of these mental health issues, PTSD, and a lot of things that come from their past. And so for her, it is a challenge to do this because of all these things that are there.
Yeah.
Years ago, so while I was serving a mission for my church, I met a lady who was suffering from severe depression. Severe depression. And she was about to get kicked out of her apartment because of how messy doesn't describe how bad it was, but how just messy it was. She was going to get kicked out of her apartment. And so in talking to her, and depression is a real issue. I think too many people disregard it as a cause for why your house is dirty or why you may not be well kept, things like that. Now, it's not a full excuse. You should still attempt to work through it, working with doctors, working with therapists, and attempt to resolve these issues. It's not an excuse, but it is a reason why people have troubles cleaning themselves or cleaning their homes or anything like that. But this lady that I knew, it was so bad. She was sitting outside on a park bench when we first met her. And it was just so overwhelming to her to even think about cleaning her home. And it spirals every single time. When you get to that point, every day it just gets worse and worse and worse, and you can no longer clean it up anymore. And that's when outside help really is a big need. Yeah. And so for her, we got all the other missionaries that were in that area, and we went in and cleaned her home. I think it took us 2 or 3 days, and there were about 10 of us doing it. This is how bad it was. It was a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. So not big, but it took us 10 people, 2 or 3 days to clean this entire place. And let me tell you, there were smells in there that I will never forget. It was, rotting food for months. It was, I think one of our kids was a smoker. I don't think she was. But there were cigarettes that had been there in the food for months. And I went to the kitchen. I cleaned the kitchen because it was my idea to help her out. So I decided to take on the worst of it myself. But we went in there and I moved some dishes in the sink, and just a swarm of flies came out of the sink. There were piles of clothes that had spiders living in them. It was this kind of environment that she had, just because of that level of depression, gotten to the point where she just couldn't even approach it. But once we came in and we got everything cleaned, we got everything organized, she felt that relief.
Oh, yeah.
And just having that gone and being able to look at it from a new perspective. Now, her depression didn't go away, but this one aspect that was causing her depression to be worse was suddenly gone.
Well, it's a pattern interrupt. It's like, I don't want to use this word in a connotation like you're being confronted by a group of people, but an intervention behaves in the same fashion as this. The reason why you're there is you have a pattern that you're used to, that you're comfortable with, or that is you're stuck in. It's not, you might not be comfortable with it. You're just trapped. And depression can keep you locked to something unintentionally. It's just, it happens. And having that opportunity to interrupt that pattern, or having others intervene or have an intervention creates an ability to develop a better pattern. Or, in this sense, you've changed the pattern to a clean environment that is not overwhelming at this point. You can, if she's able to see this and keep it at that new level, then, that's an opportunity for her to see some things that honestly, I think about, made my brain go this way, but I thought about like, what about, because this is not an unusual situation. I've had people I've helped move, people I've helped clean their place that I go in and I'm just like, where do you sleep? It's like alarming living situations. And, I don't want to be a judgmental kind of person in that situation or condemn their situation. I feel compelled to help. And so, in that situation, I go, well, if we're dealing with depression and we're dealing with some of these sort of, really high needs in the cleanliness of that home, I think almost like a therapy style of house cleaning service. Like, having a house, even to say like, hey, look, we're going to do the brunt of this up front, but then here is a year of so-and-so's cleaning service, and they're going to come in once a month, or, however much that need is, come in once a month and just make sure everything's tidy so that you're not, venturing back down into that dark area that, was so hard to get out of. And so, I don't know. I think that, that could be something. And I say that because a lot of people that I've worked with in the past, if I have somebody that's kind of in a stuck pattern, or a stuck place of thinking, I try to develop a healthy habit first. That's one of the first steps that I try to do. And only because of the fact that generates an idea of success, generates a win in their mind. And so oftentimes what I'll have somebody do is if it's serious enough, I'm kind of very, very strict on this part. But I have people that I work with that I will actually have them send me a picture of their made bed every single day. So when they wake up, the first thing they do before they do anything else is make their bed, Now, granted, you might be married and you have a spouse that doesn't get up at the same time you do. So you're like, okay, give me a minute, Yeah. But eventually the goal is I need to see that bed made and I need to see a picture of it. And you can't just send me what you took yesterday. You have to send me a new picture. So, I've had people be like, well, you see how that stuffed animal that I put on there is just a little to the left today. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, however you want to do it. I appreciate your thoroughness, but my goal is for them to have a win first thing in the morning. I learned this from, successful leaders, like, a TED Talk, I'm pretty sure, that talks about this is a development of a good characteristic, a good pattern, a healthy habit. And because of that, you're starting your day with a win. And that's my goal, is just to kind of create something really minimal that basically launches your entire day with a different attitude and a different perspective. But on the flip side, I think that, I really might even look into figuring out how to make house cleaning a form of therapy that can bill insurance.
It should be.
I really think that that's something I'm on to say. Hey guys, I copyright that.
But, not just that. We've gone down, talking about, how depression affects keeping the house clean and almost that idea of, not being able to keep your house clean can cause some of these levels of depression.
Yeah.
Because we see other people coming into our home and we assume that we have to have a clean house.
Yeah.
And it's not just us. So years ago, we had a little party in our house, and one of our neighbors came in, and I think we had just got a new table or something, and so we had a bunch of boxes from the table and chairs just in the front room, and she came in and said, "Wow, you guys are so brave to have people over when your house has all those boxes there," and she didn't mean it offensively, but.
Yeah.
That's the thinking, is that when you have people over, your house has to be pristine. It's a stigma.
I think it's a societal norm. Absolutely. It's like I was watching, I thought it was funny, but there's an insurance commercial that's out right now that I watched the other day, and they're like, "We have ants," and it's a bunch of their ants. It's absolutely hilarious because they're all nitpicky. But one of my favorites is she's standing there and she just swipes her finger across a shelf and looks at her finger. I'm like, that's like, it makes everybody cringe because you're like, I guarantee you're going to find dust if you do that in my house. And I'm like, don't you dare. Like, I'm going to kick you out.
Yeah. And it's the idea of, yes, your house should be clean, but not pristine. This idea that we have to have perfection in our homes is just, it's so damaging. We should be comfortable with having a relatively clean home. Especially if you've got kids, especially if you've got teenagers. It's just, you just have to accept that the house is never going to be pristine.
And their room is their room.
Exactly. That is their environment. Now, again, I'm differentiating between messy and clean and pristine. There are different levels here.
Yes.
It should be organized. It should look good. It shouldn't smell unless you've got teenagers. And that's just pervasive. I don't care where you are. That is just going to be there. But beyond that, this idea that we have to be perfect. I remember another story of my childhood. When I was a kid, we were having people over, and it was in the middle of the week. And, my mom was very much this attitude of everything had to be pristine. Everything had to be perfect. When people came over. And so they came over unannounced. And so she sent my dad and my brother out to stall them. This is literally like sitcom level stuff. She sent them out to stall them while we literally ran through the whole house, cleaning everything, vacuuming, sweeping. And I just remember that so vividly because at one point, so in one of the entrances or one of the transitions in the house through a doorway, there was carpet that had kind of pulled up. Mm-hmm. And so the little tack strip was under there. And this is why I remember it so much. I was running with the broom to do something, and I tripped, and I ran and slipped my hand on that tack strip. And so I just had this huge scrape. My hand was bleeding. I literally hurt myself in order to get this clean house. That it was not dirty before. It maybe wasn't a level 0 of dirt, but I'd say it was probably a 1, cleaner than my house currently is. But it was so important for the house to be pristine when someone came over that literally we were running through and I literally hurt myself trying to get that house clean. And it's that idea. We have to get away from that. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't clean the house. We have to keep it maintained. We have to clean every day. But you're just cleaning the new stuff. You're just getting it back to that low level so that it doesn't get to a 7 or 8 or a 9. Yeah. Or like this one lady that I was sharing the story about. Now, one thing about her, she was a great lady. She actually introduced me to one of my favorite bands, Apocalyptica.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I learned about this band from, was this lady. And so some people may take away, there's some issues here, but no, this was a wonderful
cello metal.
Yeah, listen to it. They're a great band. But she was an awesome lady who just had some of these issues, and I learned a lot from her. It was great. But yeah, I mean, it's keeping the house clean is important, but I think keeping it pristine is the problem. And that's where I think a lot of people run into problems with keeping their house clean.
I agree. You try to be a perfectionist, about certain things. And I'm in the same boat. Like my wife and I might be different in some of this, like certain areas of the house she's going to pay more attention to, but she'll even say like males can't see the kind of dirt that females, see. It's scientifically, it's the same science that Clyde gave me. Okay. So I'm like, okay, you talk to Clyde too. That's neat. But yeah, like she'll tell me that we can't see the amount of dirt that females can see. And I'm like, you're just bragging because you clean rooms that I don't want to clean better. But I'm like, then let's go do dishes together. See who wins. Okay. But, like that's one of the things that every once in a while, it depends on the space she's in is she really doing a thorough job, like really doing it. And honestly, even she doesn't do, like this toothbrush down in the corners of the space and trying to scrub every little, nook and cranny of everything. No, but she does a really good job. And so, like in my opinion, like it's more than I'm going to do, but there are areas in the house that I'm going to do more than she's going to do. So, so we have that good trade-off and good balance within the house. And we're trying to incorporate our kids into holding some of those responsibilities as well. But at the expense, sometimes that means that their rooms have to be this negotiation that we're like, hey, like I'm grateful that you want to help over here, but that needs your help.
Yeah. And I think there's a big thing there. Don't hesitate to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if you're not, suffering from depression or any of these other mental health issues, it's not a problem to ask for help. I mean, it's cleaning a house. You ask for help if you're, redoing your lawn. You ask for help if you're building something in your yard. What's the difference with asking for help when you are cleaning your house?
The other thing would be like, we buy, maybe it's a housewarming gift or something like that. Or maybe someone comes over for a birthday present or Mother's Day, Father's Day kind of stuff. Guys, house cleaning is an amazing gift, okay? Just so you know, if I don't have to do it and it shows up clean, I'm the happiest person on earth.
Yes. And I mean, Mother's Day, Father's Day, any of these situations, because most times we
Tuesday,
societally assume
any day that ends in Y.
Yeah, that it's the woman's job to clean in the house. That is not always the case. But any of these situations where you can just bring someone in, I mean, hire a housekeeper for a day.
Yeah.
Hire a cleaning service. They're really not that expensive when you think about the saving, the mental health saving, the just not even having to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's just about any chore that you do in the house. You can bring someone in, talking about lawn mowing or things like that. You can have someone come and do that for you. And again, it's really not that expensive and you get that great service out of it.
Yeah.
And so it's a great thing to bring in. And even if it's just once a year, as a special gift, that once a year thing really adds up.
Yeah. It really means a lot. And I think that, going down the road of possibly tying some sort of, therapy or counseling care with that is, with a house cleaning on top of it is a really good thing, even if it's once, having that service come in. But I really think that if it's something that someone struggles with, having that come regularly is good for someone's mental health. And I because I don't like, personally, I like a clean space. One of the things that probably is this is kind of one of those pet peeves for me. Maybe it's stupid, but I'm sure it is. I have 5 pillows on my couch in my front room.
You're lucky. I've got about 15.
And no matter how many times I straighten them out, they go to their places. They have a spot. And then I will leave the room my kid will come over and lounge, and the pillows will get moved and stacked, put over here, and not stacked neatly, just like shoved to the side or fall on the floor. And I will go back and do it again. And I mean, I'm just talking about this morning. So, like probably 3 or 4 times I make that adjustment to the couch pillows. And every day it's easily a dozen. But it's one of those things that like I cannot stand how little regard the rest of the household has for these couch pillows. and all I'm asking is, hey, when you're done, when you hop up, put them back. It's really easy. So, do you have anything in your house that's kind of one of those like, hey, make sure the back door's shut? Kind of, I don't know.
Not really. The girls will take their dinner to their bedrooms at time, and so they've got stacks of cups and plates.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I've got like 15 pillows. That's just a losing battle. There's no way to win when you've got that many pillows. No, I think the biggest thing for me is, just keeping the table and counter clean, because, the kitchen is my area, the kitchen and dining room. And so they come in, everything goes on the tables, everything goes on the counter,
school papers, unload,
all these things. And so it's like, okay, just don't put them where I'm going to be cooking food. That's another one. My wife loves using these kitchen utensils for craft projects. So they make slime in our cereal bowls. And that is just, I have, she'll clean the dog's water bowl. She'll empty it out into the sink, into the kitchen sink. And some people have no problem with that. Obviously my wife doesn't. By the look on your face, you really...
I'm trying to think like if it depends.
All that slobber and everything that's in this water is now in my sink where all these dishes are, and all that dog slobber is now all over the dishes. Doesn't
Are they clean
matter.
dishes?
No.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if they're going to get cleaned. They are still covered in that. They're slime bowls now, and it's just, that is my biggest thing in our house, is just using those things for my kitchen.
I get it. It's the thing. It is the thing. We all have the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. It's interesting. I'm going to use this as a transition because, dog food and dog slobber is pretty close. It's all this is a step up from that, of course, but the same kind of idea of just a processed meal meat into a particular shape, and then sometimes it's sliced, sometimes it's put into a sleeve tube type sort of thing that you would call a wiener or a frank. Okay.
Quite the transition. I got to hand that one.
You see that?
Yeah.
It's reaching. It is, but maybe not. If you look at the ingredients of dog food, you're like, okay, it's pretty close. But Kraft Heinz, over the last couple of weeks, or last week, I believe, is when they did this. They announced that they are officially changed. They actually debuted this change, so they have been changed. There's 5. I think it's 5. There's 5 vehicles. Oh no, 6. 6 Frank mobiles. So for years and years, since 1936, they've been called what? The Wienermobile.
The Wienermobile.
Right? And they hand out little whistles that they call
weenie whistles.
Weenie whistles, right? So now that's gone. Now they're Frank whistles and the Frankmobile. And honestly, it's like Oscar Mayer, basically, they're rebranding. It's called, the campaign is called Keep It Oscar campaign. They've been doing that since about 2021. I don't know the purpose other than probably politically correct, because you don't really want to hand somebody a wiener whistle, because they're going to take it a whole different direction, especially this generation. They're just going to laugh, giggle, and probably make a couple TikTok videos that are inappropriate. So,
well, even our generation laughed at all that stuff and sniggered.
It's true. It's true. But yeah, I just kind of saying, like, look, that was 87 years of an iconic name that just kind of, because of our current society and inappropriate teenage minds, we need to change it to something a little more politically correct.
I get that. I mean, the Wienermobile, the weenie whistles, those I can see. I mean, but Frank, I know it's because it's a Frankfurter, but I mean, a Frank. Frankmobile, and I mean, Frankmobile honestly sounds like one of those vans that you want to avoid anywhere you go. It's the Frankmobile.
The Frankmobile, yeah.
I mean, it does not sound good.
It's almost like your neighbor's Frank, and he has a weird van that you just stay away from, you know, like, right. Oh, it's the Frankmobile, you know, like.
Yeah, and then the Frank whistle. That also, You're calling all Franks.
It doesn't roll off the tongue like a weenie whistle does.
I mean, at least they could have done Furter. You know, the Furtermobile.
Okay.
See, that kind of goes.
Yeah.
The Furter whistle. Doesn't quite go, but although I guess I could see the farter whistle, you know, in today's day and age. But Frank.
Well, like they have a new recipe. It's 100% beef Franks. So now it's moving up a little further, making some distance from dog food is what's happening there. And they had a big debut on that this month, and so they're trying to basically kind of appeal to our society. Obviously, we're coming up on Memorial Weekend, and so it's like the official, like, unofficial start to grilling season. I grill all year long. It doesn't matter. Snow, I will shovel a path to my grill because I love grilling. But, in this sense, there's a lot of options out there, especially when they're all beef hot dogs, that if you're not making them, a lot of people are not interested anymore. So good on them for trying to do this. But I think it's interesting for them to kind of just get rid of a name that has been there for so long, and go with a name that mostly catches the same vibe, but still kind of in this weird, creepy uncle sort of way. Yeah. So, all right, good. You guys, Oscar Mayer, you guys make lots of money, so you do what you want to do. But, our little old opinions don't really matter that much. But those are our 2 cents anyways. Joe, do you have anything else you want to add to our conversation today before we get out of here?
Give me a Nathan's hot dog.
See, I'm a Hebrew National guy.
Oh, okay,
so,
there
all
you
right,
go.
just ish. They're both the same. I think they're both kosher. So, but is Nathan's New York based, or is it? I can't remember. I don't know if it's Chicago based or New York based.
I think it's New York. I'm not sure.
I'll have the answer next episode. Stay tuned. To be continued. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today, and we appreciate the opportunity to just kind of, we hope that some of our banter was helpful. Hopefully that, like I said, don't steal that idea, guys. It's coming. It's coming out. That therapy idea is going to happen now. But if you have a little bit more leverage than I do, please do something with it. I don't need to be the founder of that. I just as always,
don't
check
forget,
your shoes.
Check your shoes.